apologies if you hear any noise. It is summer holidays and there are some people outside that might be a little bit loud. But today I want to focus on creating a lovely granulating neutral mix using two colors, and that would be Cerulean and Sepia. Cerulean Blue and Sepia. So I have done something similar last time, but I wanted to revisit it. So in the last abstract process, I have shown you these sort of mixes that I have created and a bit of abstract here. I don't remember if I have a process video actually for this or if I just showed you that. I'm not sure. Anyway, so these are the colors. Very quickly I realized that of course it's not granulating and it's not doing what I needed it to do, because the cerulean, the closest name-wise Cerulean Blue would be, in my Schminke palette, would be this one, and actually in real life it is leaning more towards Tailor Blue, so it's a little bit more towards there. Then I can see it on the camera, but yes, it's a Cerulean Blue hue, so it's not the cerulean that we want. Color-wise, the closest that I have here in this palette probably would be around those two, but less Prussian blue, more mountain blue. But again, it's not what we want, because the key in Cerulean Blue is, and someone also pointed this out and I should have mentioned it in my video, that the Cerulean Blue comes in PB 35 and I think PB 36 as well, if I'm not mistaken. And these two are nowhere near. So if we look at Cerulean Blue, the one that I have used, Cerulean Blue hue, you can see there's PB 29, and that is ultramarine blue, and there's also PW4, so there's actually a white in there, so not really what we want. Although I'm quite surprised that this color is so vibrant. I would assume that there is a Tailor Blue in there. And the Mountain Blue, which is this color here, it also has a bunch of things in there. So PW5, PB29 again, and PG7, which is tallow green. So this one actually has tallow green in there. This one doesn't have any tallow in there, but it does look like it's very bright basically. So it's not the typical Cerulean Blue. And I realized that actually throughout the entire color collection of Schminke there isn't one until we look at Cobalt Azure. So it's not called a Cerulean, and it's a PB 35, so that would be fitting the bill, but color-wise I don't know. So I'm a little bit confused why there isn't a traditional Cerulean and why it's not named Cerulean, but it's from one of the new colors. So if you take this out, they didn't actually have before that anything close to a Cerulean. So what I did was I went through my watercolor collection and was surprised that I only had a couple of Ceruleans, because I think they're very beautiful to mix, but I never explored that side of the Cerulean. So here's what I found. In terms of Sepia, I think I have a couple of options, including the Schminke one that I used, but I want to use today the Warm Sepia by Jackson's, because I do enjoy Jackson's watercolors and I haven't used them in a while, so I want to do that. And the Ceruleans I have is a Cerulean Blue, which is a White Nights, and I'm trying to see the pigment. So the pigment is PB 35. Then we have a Cerulean Blue, again by Jackson's, and that is also PB 35. And then, if you remember me reviewing this palette recently, the metal box of the Aquarius watercolors by Szmal, It has a colour in there. If you just look at the back here, Cobalt Cerulean Blue, and this one is the PB36, as I mentioned earlier. So let's try those 3 different ceruleans. One, the same sepia, as I want to see how the ceruleans are impacting and sort of what color mixes we can get. If you haven't seen the review, I will try to link that for you. So that is the Cerulean Blue right here. Okay, so I'm going to use a palette. I've got one which is sort of semi-clean, so it's got a little bit of cobalt in there, but we'll ignore it for now. And what I'm going to do is try to mix up some lovely colors here. Okay, so let's start in the order that I showed you the colors. So there's this one. Every time I see someone use Cerulean Blue, I always ask myself, why am I not exploring the color a little bit more? I mean, in mixes, it's supposed to be beautiful, but it's actually very beautiful on its own. So you can already see a tonal difference there. So I'll put them in this order so we know what's going on. And then let's use the Cerulean from Aquarius. They're all slightly different. Okay, so let's go ahead first and do a little bit of swatching and see what sort of thing we can create. So I'm going to swatch Aquarius first. It's got a nice depth to the color, a little bit darker than I would expect a cerulean to be. And then we have Jackson's cerulean. So I think as far as ceruleans come, I always have been under the impression that this is sort of a more traditional cerulean color. It's got a little bit of that milkiness to it, it will granulate, and it has enough color, yet it's not too deep, it's not too vibrant. Now the lightest out of them is the White Knight Cerulean. That kind of looks a little bit too light for me. But it's a lovely color. Yes, it's lovely. It feels like there is white in there, but there isn't. So, those are the colors. And then we've got the warm sepia. Oh, this one has separated a little bit. I'm just looking for my toothpick. Okay, so I'm not going to go into that puddle of Gamma Arabic. I am going to take off what's on the toothpick here to use it. We only need a little bit, so. Okay, so this is way too much. There we go, that's our sepia. So let's try and do some mixes. This one is beautifully granulating. Out of all 3, this is the one that's granulating the most. So let's start with this mix. So I'm going to take a little bit of the sepia, and so the color is very pretty. But we want a touch more of grey. Just going to warm it up. Now it's a little bit more warmer. We'll do a little bit more. It's almost back to where it was. And then I'm going to go back into this Cerulean Blue and try some more mixes. Now leaning a bit more towards the blue. And there's lovely granulation happening. If you are curious where I have seen this mix and why it sort of got my interest, it's I think I was watching over the weekend, maybe last week, on White Nights. It's all in Russian, so unless you speak Russian, you're probably not going to understand much, but there is an artist talking about he paints cats, and he talks about this mix of sepia and cerulean blue, and so I kind of got curious. So you can still watch them, but you're probably just not going to understand, unless they might have some sort of subtitles or something. Anyway, it's on their channel, on the White Nights channel. Okay, so let's now go into the Jacksons. And I'm going to pull out a paddle. So that went into warm straight away. So hopefully you can see that. So that suggests that we need more of the blue. Didn't mix it properly. And that's a little bit grayish, but still on a blue to blue side. So now I can go back and add a touch more. Now we have this grey. So the blue here is a little bit warm, so I'm not getting this mix. I'm getting a warmer color come through. Here it feels like it has a similar, like an ultramarine type of property to it, so granulating and a bit separating. Let's see. So I find that it's a little bit hard with this one to achieve more variety. I seem to be sort of creating two very similar colors here. So it goes very quickly into one direction or very quickly into the other direction, whereas it felt a lot easier with the previous one. So the previous one was the Roman Szmal, this one here, and then this one is the Jacksons. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Let's recap. So we have Roman Szmal, Cobalt Cerulean Blue, Jackson Cerulean Blue, and White Nights. I wrote down Cerulean Blue, but I actually noticed they spell it as Cerulean Blue, and I don't know whether that's just a typo or whether that's how you can call it otherwise. And the sepia. So all the pigments are here. I've done Roman Szmal's Cobalt Cerulean Blue first play, really liked it. So that's the one that had this kind of ultramarine quality to it of separating and granulating. And then the Jackson Cerulean Blue, that's the one that I struggled to get the difference in tone. So you can see here they're all slightly different. Here it was leaning either to one or the other, and I felt that the actual blue, the Cerulean Blue, was a little bit more warm toned in the mixes. It came out like that. So now we're going to do the last one, which is the lightest, and that's the White Nights Cerulean Blue. Okay, so I'm going to mix up a little puddle. Oh no, we don't want that one. Just a little, again, just the start of the sepia. So immediate thoughts, this Cerulean Blue comes off cooler and this one is warmer, but actually I do like the grey that I got here. So I'll just continue and see if I can get enough variety in the mixes. That's probably still a little bit too close, so I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more. And now let's see if we can take it back to a bluer color. But different to the one. So see, again, it's very similar to the ones I just mixed up. Let's add a bit more blue into that and see if that helps at all. Slightly bluer, but not much. And then if I just use all of the blue, kind of again. So, although I like these kind of bluish mixes, I would say my priority would be with the first one, the Roman Szmal Cobalt Cerulean Blue, purely because of the different varieties I could mix and the granulation. I feel that it was the strongest in terms of granulation. I will show you a close-up once these dry a little bit more. Let's have a closer look. These are all quite lovely. Keep in mind that if you will use watercolor paper, the granulation will show up even further. This is not a watercolor paper, it's mixed media. It's thick enough for me to enjoy to do watercolor, and I tend to do little abstracts here in the sketchbook. So if I'm playing with a color palette, I like to have that going on here. But yeah, this is, I'm just trying to think how thick this paper was. It kind of feels like 100 maybe, and 50, oh, here we go, 140 GSM. Yeah, I was close enough. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the mixing video, and let's see, next time maybe we'll do a little abstract here or something along the lines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.